Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia. Today I'm going to be sharing a few tips with you on how to learn English. So the first tip I have for you is make sure that you have a clear goal in mind. So why do you want to learn English? In what areas in your life can knowing English benefit you? So make sure to set short-term goals as well as long-term goals. For example, your long-term goal would be maybe, I want to become fluent so that I can teach English, or so that I can translate, or do business with English-speaking countries. Okay, so whatever it may be, make sure you have a clear goal in mind. Examples of short-term goals could be, by next month I will be conversational in English, or, I will learn 100 words in English this week, or something similar to that. So this is very important because when you have, goals, short and long-term goals set in English, then you are much more motivated to continue learning English. Okay, so the next tip is be consistent. So I cannot stress this enough. You want to be consistent with learning English. So maybe whether it be 5 or 6, 7 days a week, maybe 1 or 2 hours a day, or less or more, depending on you. It's important to keep that routine, right? Keep it consistent. You don't want to, stop for a few days or a week or month or even longer, because, by then you would have forgotten a lot of words and, everything that you learned. Well, not everything, but a pretty substantial amount, and we don't want that happening. So consistency is key. Okay? And, it doesn't matter if it's maybe just 30 minutes a day, or, something maybe less or more, because it depends on the person. You may have a very busy schedule, may not have enough free time, or you may have a lot of free time and you could do, 2-3 hours a day. Okay, but stay consistent. That's very important. Okay, the next tip is learn the most common vocabulary first. So this will help you start speaking sooner. Okay, so think about, what would be the most common vocabulary? Some people, when they start learning a language, they start learning things like names of animals, or names of eating utensils, fork, spoon, plate, and so on. So the most common vocabulary would be words that you use every day. So think about, pronouns, verbs like to go, to eat, to study, to know, to speak, and so on. Same thing with nouns. When you learn more common vocabulary first, you'll be able to speak sooner, because, when you talk to someone, a native speaker, for the first time, you don't want to, start, speaking about eating utensils or names of animals. You may use that in a conversation, but it's not as great as knowing the most common vocabulary. So that's what I mean. Okay. Now the next tip is start speaking. So even if you're a beginner and your vocabulary is very limited, start forming sentences with the words that you know. And as weird as it may sound, you can start speaking by just talking to yourself in English, or pretending that you're talking to someone. So after you're more comfortable with speaking English, then start speaking with a native. So don't delay, speaking practice, as this will delay your progress in learning English. So it's very important. Okay, now tip number 5 will be learn from mistakes. So I know that when we think about making mistakes, we dread it all the time and we don't want it to happen, but we make mistakes all the time. And instead of beating yourself up for mistakes, think of it as a learning strategy, because it really is. The more mistakes you make, the quicker you will improve, because you're always learning from those mistakes. If you're talking to a native speaker and you use the wrong word in English, and maybe later you think about the conversation you had and you realize, wait a second, that wasn't the right word. So, or maybe the native speaker corrected you at the moment and you knew that from them telling you. So instead of beating yourself up about it, it's much better to learn from it and use that as a learning experience. So very important. Okay. The next tip would be to keep a dictionary with you at all times. So 24/7, when you go to work, when you go to doctor appointments, to lunch, anywhere. It can be a small dictionary like this, pocket dictionary, very compact, very useful, just cute little dictionary in your bag, in your purse, whatever it may be. This is very important because, especially for people who have a busy schedule and may not have as much free time, you could be sitting at a doctor's office or, eating lunch on your break from work. And maybe you have just a few minutes to spare and you have dictionary with you. So you can just open it up, look for words that you forgot, or just new words. So that's very helpful as well. Okay, now the next tip is to immerse yourself in the English language. So this is extremely important. Think about how, if you were to go to an English-speaking country, for example, America, okay, and let's say you know very little English, and you get there and you have to be able to ask for directions, ask for where a hotel is, where certain things in a store might be, or ask for help or something, anything, right? So from that immersion, you learn so much in a short period of time. So you can do this even if you don't travel to an English-speaking country. You can immerse yourself in so many ways. For example, you can change your cell phone to English. You can change websites like social media to the English language. You can watch movies, TV, the news in English, read books if you like to read, and so on. So one thing that I like to do is when I go to the gym, I usually like to watch a tutorial for stretching or different warm-up or workout exercises. So instead of watching it in English, I watch it in my target language, which is Japanese. That way and this is especially important for, if you have a very busy lifestyle. I'm multitasking and I'm learning my target language at the same time. So that's very important. If you can do what you like to do, watch or read what you like to do in English, that's the best thing that you can do, because you're also not only immersing yourself in the language, but you're having fun with it. Which leads us to the last tip: just have fun with it. So have fun with learning English. It's supposed to be fun. Languages are always fun. As this famous polyglot once said, Kutu Lam, she said, "Study has never been a burden for me, but always an inexhaustible source of joy." So language is always fun. It's not meant to be, a daunting task or a chore. Okay, so, instead of, well, textbooks are very useful. So it's good to use that as well. But in addition to that, try to do things that you like in English. For example, if you have a favorite movie or a favorite song or a favorite book, watch, read, listen to it in English instead. So that will be, a great thing for you to do for learning English and staying motivated as well. All right, so those are all my tips for learning English, and I wish you well. Good luck on your English learning journey. I will see you soon.